As we enter the July turn, things get kind of interesting here, as I alluded in the last video. But we got some additional reinforcements coming in, some additional ammo, especially for the Russians. This is sort of their last turn where they get a big amount of 10. It starts decreasing rather heavily here. You can see the Allied guns are kind of, well, heading downward as well, the amount of ammo they have, which could be a dangerous factor. But I've saved up all my Allied ammo. That could have been there's a decision point there that I kind of ignored with the, well, I want to blast through things late when I need it. I want my ammo ready when I need it, because essentially you can fire it, in any quantity, so I can, mathematically, I'm just about as capable of knocking down the bastions late in the game as early in the game, and at least I take away all the replacement points. So now, all the points the Russians have spent, and they've wasted some because they've produced more points than they needed at certain times in order to upgrade bastions. All the points that I've spent have been to increase all the bastions up to an 8. Okay, that all sounds reasonable. It is not a clear-cut decision, though. If you look at and I sort of knew this, but didn't go into it. If you look at the fire table, it gets more likely to hurt things the lower the bastion strength is. So these improvements have made it somewhat more difficult. Once you get down to the very low levels, you're doing a lot of casualties, which would have allowed maybe plinking at units inside the reserve spaces with the mortars with the Lancaster. That doesn't matter too much. What matters is perhaps this little shift here between, say, here I need a 4, whereas early on I would have needed a 3, and then if I dumped it down lower, I would only need a 2 to knock the walls down further. So, there's this better chance of knocking things down if you fire early, but there's also the penalty, although I'm having difficulty getting below the -1 area into the 300 yards. And I've managed, I think, that in a couple of places, and it's almost impossible to get into the +1 range with any of these siege weapons, just because there's this offset of where the bastion is compared to where the assault positions are. So it's very, very tough. I mean, something like this here is right on the assault position, yet it's not in the 150, it's in the 300. That's tough to get to. Okay. But that advantage is relatively minor compared to the fact that there have been points which have been passed up. Plus, firing would probably have happened across multiple bastions to provide an overall general level of threat, rather than just knocking one bastion down, where the Russians could then concentrate their rebuilding efforts. Their rebuilding only goes up to level 3 if Todleben is not there. So, as far as I'm concerned, withholding the fire seemed like a no-brainer, but I wanted to at least explain it, because historically the Allies did pound the crap out of Sev throughout the entire, sporadically, but throughout the siege. They fired their ammo trying to reduce Todleben's efforts. In game terms, that doesn't seem like a wise idea, but there may not have been an understanding of exactly what your limitations of how much ammo you're going to get throughout the game is. There might have been a hope for an opportunity by blasting through things. The other thing is, it's tough to get the guns close, as we're seeing. I may be forced, depending on how Russian ammo holds up, to make firing come from far enough away that, well, maybe trying to get close and get the best shots possible, which is another factor in it, is not worthwhile. I think the Russian ammo is low enough that I'm going to have a chance to just unleash a hell of fire on at least one or two of these bastions and make it easier. as of right now, I don't feel like I'm in that optimal position, but I am running out of time here. All right, so the Allies get to shoot first, but they don't have any guns except for the behind the lines, for example, the Lancaster here. And I have a behind the lines siege gun that I just got this round. That's actually limbered. I haven't really worried about their limber status on the because I'm not planning on firing that one. So I have very little Lancaster ammunition. Oh, no, that's just the Lancaster. I have 5 rounds of Lancaster ammunition. The best that can do for me, if we look at the siege battery fire, well, I'm not going to get any modifier, but it's on the mortar table, so I could conceivably drop it down to 4, 6. I could knock a bastion down with the Lancaster with all that ammo. I'm holding that off, though, because the odds of that is very, very low. I want to use the Lancaster to its best effect, not on some high-risk option to try to knock down a bastion early. So in order to do that, I want my closer guns that are modified by range to have their effect. Nothing really gets the close range bonus, I would say. It's just too hard to get close to a bastion aim point in this game. Now, if you're allowed to, and it doesn't say you're not, build over, at least that I could find, I think Lille did, to build over an assault position, or maybe even into the walls, which would be goofy as all hell, then things become a little different. But where you could actually get close enough that you could launch an attack. That doesn't seem reasonable to me in terms of, well, certainly going through the walls is impossible. And that probably, nope, it's not covered in here. Yeah, it's prohibited in water, Sevastopol, parallel saps, assault positions, and bastion positions. Yeah, so I can't build into the assault position. And I would say this is probably pretty damn questionable right there. So you just can't get too close. Is that reasonable? Well, counter-mining might keep you from getting that close. But then, why would I be able to slip it in here? Because I think there's actually room that if I was really, really careful with my geometry, probably not. So I'm probably cheating there a little bit. But there is room on this one that I could squeak that one in there if I had my angle perfect. And it would have to be absolutely perfect. That's not a game I really want to play. So a little bit of cheating and a little bit of fudging seems fair, but much more than that seems a little unreasonable to me. That would be really tough to do here. I could tilt this position, though. It could have been tilted so that I think I could launch a sap right going into that, if I perfectly judged it. The game, this is one of the aspects that I kind of dislike about the game. There's something very cool about the way the saps and the parallels work. I just, why do the saps have to be this given length, right? Can't I make half a sap? That would make some sense. What about a somewhat shorter parallel? And if it's not, and if I can't do that, then why can I slip something in there? That would just disturb me. All right, so I'm kind of babbling to no end. We'll come back after the Ruskies launch their firepower. I think they've got enough firepower to knock out all the siege artillery that the Allies have put into place this turn. Go to that, actually, we have another little simple roll here on whether we get Simpson or Campbell to replace Lord Raglan. Well, we get the good one. And he will not be replaced. So Raglan is gone, and Campbell has taken off. Alright, well, I definitely screwed up with the French here. This is clearly going to cut from the range point here through this one. I'm not sure what the hell the French were going to do, but I'm going to pull these back. I don't think they die with it, but that's even if they do, that's too extreme a result. And this is destroyed, and it's actually so destroyed that it's just gone. It would have to be completely rebuilt. Basically, that is an untenable position for a parallel at this point in the game. So that couldn't have been built. And well, essentially the cost there is they lost their build points, which I think is a fairer cost than anything else, given the nature of it. So far, the Russians have destroyed all the guns that are out there. This was an interesting location because it was so close. I would have gotten a bonus. Maybe firing with the mortar would have killed some units. Maybe I wanted to do that, but I'm so damn low on ammo here. I'm down to 3 siege ammo and only 30 mortar ammo. And I don't really want to do that. Question is, do I want to knock this out? This doesn't give me any particular advantage to shoot. Taking out that sap, well, that sap isn't serving any purpose, so all I'm doing there is knocking units out. Of course, it does have to be replaced. Everything has to be rebuilt in a section before you can build new parallels, etc. So there would be some cost to that, a couple of replacement points that must be used regularly. So maybe it's about the same as the others. Over elsewhere, oh, I didn't get that gun. I think I've got to hit it. Even though there are no units that are going to die there because other things served as the garrison, I had to go for that. So now I have only 3 siege guns left. 1, 2, 3. I got lucky. A 5 goes down to a 4. I take that out. And now I'm out of siege ammo. And now it's really... Oh no, yeah, that's a 0. Now I'm really down to just my mortars. Let's get this guy out of there. But at least it means next turn I'm not going to be suffering close-in fire. Do I want to knock out more units? You know, it's a helpful thing to do, especially with something like Campbell in charge, where he can bring 4 brigades. That can be the 1st brigade with its big power here, the lights, and then I got 2 more. I don't know if I even have enough troops to do that and still protect my supply zone. So the English might make a choice not to get ammo on a turn. They have a significant amount stored up, and if they can't bring their guns into play, maybe that makes more sense if they're going to make an assault. But this looks like a really hard assault to make right now. So we'll go on to the Allied building. And yeah, I'm chattering a long time on this turn, or am I not? Once again, the French are pushing a little bit further into this space. Got my guns deployed back here and across here. I'm hoping to be able to smash these bastions, but you know what? With the Brits here, and I've moved, this is the first chance I get to actually deploy in here. I can't do any construction because I didn't have any troops in that area, but I'm able to just shift in there for free. Well, in the sense that it doesn't take me any additional turns. I can do it during my operational movement. I'm not sure I have my garrisons down though, so I better look. This one's good, but I think I may need one here. That's at the -1. Ah, geez. I may need to forego my firing, my extra ammo next turn. But that's a decent amount. I'm getting 5 and 3. So maybe I'll limit my my units. I'm not going to be making an assault. So let's get my guard out of there and put other units there instead. This is a tricky balance, but I can't leave my things ungarrisoned. I don't want to expose my decent units to fire, but I've only got so many crappy units here now. I get a replacement which I can put over there on the right zone. I don't expect to have to use as many units next turn here because I won't be expanding any trench works. The engineer is the only place where you can expend trench works. You have to have your engineer in place for that. And you have to have the troops in place in the right assault zone. The Russians don't have anything to build as we move into the second turn of July. In a sense, you would think the French commander would actually be canned for not launching an assault. There are rules for canning him if he launches an unsuccessful assault, but the designer's notes associated with that rule kind of say, yeah, there was pressure from both sides on the French to resolve this quickly and to not take losses, which were completely contradictory. Well, you kind of don't want to be able to upgrade your leader, though, by delaying, and one of the French leaders is better. The Russians didn't have to do anything, and unfortunately I've got some pretty decent units here. Not the ones I necessarily want to assault with. One of the problems also is the forces end up split. Your regiment or your brigades end up, with some regiments on one side, some on the other if you're not ultra careful. And this is where it kind of gets to be a little bit of a headache, the same way that Lille does, where you're having to balance units and try to figure out what goes where and what goes what. To some sense, I guess you just have to suck it up. I mean, with the amount of damage that's been taken, I don't think it's that big a deal, but it's an annoying kind of optimization. When you make the decisions, some of the units are flipped over. It's just a little painful. I guess the big one, though, is I want the guard involved, so I've got them here. I'm really running low on troops. I think I'm going to have to forego ammo fairly shortly. But this turn, I didn't want to, because it is a fair-sized ammo turn next time where I get 5. My garrison requirements start dropping as the ammo does. But, I've got 9 points. Yeah. I'm getting 6 points of ammo each turn. That's fairly significant. If I'm not going to be able to launch the assault because my guns are getting shot out from the trench works are getting shot out from under the guns, that extra ammo will do me good later. It still doesn't hurt to take it. Having the extra units on the board doesn't terribly help me if I can't blast down those bastions to a level at which I can attack them. At least that's how I'm looking at it. There's a tough problem here to figure out. The English actually seem to have a good amount of troops. They might be able to take this. And if this falls, this is so undefended. I mean, I can throw lots of troops in there, but you can see it's got a mortar there. That'll help. Mortar's what I have the most ammo for. It's not completely open. All right, and you can't, as the Allies, you can't take this bastion and work your way across. It doesn't work the same way Lille does, where you get your foothold in the wall and you can kind of expand that. This is the only thing that gets converted into part of your siege works. All right, here we are in turn 15, the second turn in July, and the Russians have started firing off their siege guns. I made the decision not to make Inkerman commitment yet, although that would take a huge quantity out of the Allied forces. I think that I can knock out their siege guns and play this thing out for a little bit longer without too much trouble. But I'm out of my own siege artillery. I've still got my mortars. I've still got 30-something mortars sitting here, ammo. But in some cases it may be hard to target. So this mortar here is going to be at the -3 range, so I probably got to let that one live. And these two, I got very, very bad rolls with my siege artillery trying to plink this thing out of existence. So I may have opened up an opportunity for the Allies to cut loose with their artillery, just because my mortars aren't going to be able to really take out the parallels that they need to, I think. Positions the French were in have been fairly easy. A -2 on the mortar, that's no worse than a -1 on the regular siege guns, but coming over here, a -3 on the mortar to get rid of these guns. That one may be a -2. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a -2, but these guys are -3s, and that's gonna be real rough. I kind of erred. I could have used this mortar to wipe that thing out, probably at a -2. Yeah, I should have been using my siege guns over here instead. Well, I'll try to plink this one. I got 22 rounds left. This one's particularly important because I think it's actually at a closer range. And everybody's at -1. But if I get really lucky, I might take a few more shots, a couple pot shots at these guys, see if I can knock those guns out. Because if I can get lucky with that, then I'm under no danger. But if I can't take that, I got some real potential problems with the English maybe being able to launch an assault, cutting across onto that bastion. And that would cause some real problems, because then the French could just start digging right out of there. And of course I could continue with some saps maybe cutting through on the sides of the bastion. Well, I think I did get pretty lucky. I'm down to only 14 mortar ammo, but that means I only spent 8. And you can see I got rid of all of them, or maybe 2 of them. Maybe I had gotten this one when I got down. Yeah, I must have. I'm not sure. Anyway, got my lucky 6s there. I've driven the Allied fire kind of out of the way by that, which means, what can we do here? This mortar has to, oh no, this was, yeah, that one doesn't actually exist. So I've got really unlikely shots here. These guys are going to be at -3 if I want to fire them. Oh no, that's the Lancaster. That would fire at normal. How much ammo do I have? I have, it looks like 6 ammo from the Lancaster. You know, I just feel like I can wait it out a little longer. Maybe make some digs through here. I feel this pressure on me, but it's obvious that the Russian ammo is really falling short. What are we in? We're in July 2, August. We're looking at smaller and smaller amounts, and I'm digging deep into my reserves of the mortar ammo. But the Russians are always going to have some ammo. They're always going to knock out some of my gun emplacements. But they got to get them all. That's the problem. Because with all the ammo I have, I can pretty much drop a bastion without a problem. And what's kind of valuable here is by taking this one, I still have the French able to take these out if that's open. Or if I can even start digging out, I can get the French into a position where they can be a danger and a threat to this one as well, so that a combined French and British attack on one bastion could go. So these 2 would be sufficient to win the game. But this one and one of these would also be sufficient. Or that one. But, you know, I'm looking at maximizing what force I have. I may not have enough French to really make an assault, though. That's the problem. So this is looking like where my target is. Sweep through and then up there. We'll see. Really getting hard to deploy, to get the French to get their ammo and to garrison what they need, as well as repair things over here. And then a little expansion coming out this way for another 6. I actually had 1 repair point left that didn't count. This is the only place I can build new stuff, because that's where my engineer is for the French. But I'm deploying a threat to the bastion, moving it forward. Who knows? You know, it's not like there are any additional guns back here, so whatever troops come swarming over there are just an additional bonus to the English attack, as far as I can see. This might cut off the ability of the English to shoot a set of parallels and saps up that way, but I think that if this bastion falls, there's going to be enough that a launch, even from back here, might be worthwhile, just because not only do I have the position there, but I also have the threats over here. And the problem is there are no French troops. English troops there are a lot more of, so maybe an attack on here makes more sense. I don't know. It's just really, really tough to try to manage the lack of resources that the Allies have right now, from the firing that they've taken from the Russians, and then facing the likelihood that the Russians can just beat them back. I don't need to fill these spaces because the English can't launch an attack that'll get to any of them within 150 yards. I could get to this one, but there's a gun there, so there's a partial defense to that. The English actually will have to wait to scale there, and so I have the opportunity to bring some of the huge quantity of reserves. There's no real repairs to do for the Russians, so it's just a matter of how do I want to allocate my forces. I may want to get something over here if the French are starting to dig here. They could just run up and grab one of these, so I think I need some kind of defense there. So that's going to begin putting a little bit of pressure on the Russians in terms of, watching the English march by this. That's not going to happen. Those guns are just going to take them out on the way through. But if there's an English assault on here and the French cut this way, that's a serious threat to two bastions that if they fall, it's all over, if both of them fall. All right, I'll rearrange the Russian units, but otherwise, we're at the end of the turn. Still had a couple of Russian Marine battalions that I hadn't converted over to batteries. So we got new field guns here and here to contend with the Russian threat, as well as some troops there, not much. Remember, I can shift things around. That's going to take a while for them to cover that ground, right? Maybe too long if that was empty, but there'll be plenty of time to get there. So now I feel like I've got it covered, and we're in pretty good shape for that. I don't know. Again, my delaying and a lack of damage to any of the bastions means the Russians are passing on increment again here in August 1 turn. There's only 2 more turns after this. I'm beginning to really feel the pressure in this game at this point. I had forgotten to throw my artillery into locations. No real harm done. I tossed it in. There's nothing that really was affected by it. Additional forces in line. The Russians have not that much siege artillery. I must have moved the wrong thing forward. Shit. I don't know what the hell I moved. I've got their siege artillery up in the 30s, and that can't be right. I don't know. I must have moved something wrong. I think the rest of it's correct, though. I think my mortars are in the high teens. I'm gonna try to fire mortars first, actually, because I have a limited number of them. I only have 2 on the map, and this one's pretty much useless, so I'm gonna use this one to fire out what it can at an advantage, then use the actual siege guns to clear what I can. I got lucky last turn. I only have 5 ammo this time. I'm probably not going to be able to clear this, but that means next turn's increment, right? I think so. Boy. Well, I managed to wipe out all of the siege gun positions on the French side, but the English side was untouched. If I had a mortar up in here, I may well have been able to ensure that the Russians couldn't be attacked. However, I'm down to one mortar round left. So, well, maybe not. The successes over here came at a cost. Next turn, I get 5 more siege gun and 2 mortar rounds. That's not going to be enough to stop anything. That might be like 2 hits, basically. And we're going to have a bunch of unlimbered guns. Now, the unlimbered guns, of course, are going to be the more important ones to shoot out. Not really. No. The limbered ones are more important because the unlimbered ones get to fire first next turn. So this is just going to be leveled. And I may want to hold my mortar rounds for the attack, perhaps on here, by a combined force. Next turn looks like it probably will be the attack. And at least I get to do some digging now, repair some of these entrenchments, and move some stuff up. I may be foregoing any more French ammo, just because I'm out of units. I don't have anything left here. I don't think I can garrison my parallels if I leave my units where they are. I'm not sure I can repair though either. I don't have the ability to repair everything because I only have 3 units in this zone. These get to come out during the operational movement, I think. These guys have to come out. I have to have forces here in order to repair all those parallels. So I'm not going to be able to repair everything even over on that side. There we are. You can see the Allies have extended the French line towards here. The British filling up with their artillery in place. I did a little extension there for whatever that value. And then, oh Jesus. You know what? I screwed up. This says French right area January 1st. And this is French right area July 1st. Son of a bitch. I have totally screwed this one up. Ah, well. I'm not going to go back and, try to play it out. But obviously the English ain't going to get anywhere if they can't start from here. There would have been some possibility. And this kind of makes sense why the French get this. But I thought the French were only way down there. Oh, well. We still have an interesting situation on our hands where the French and English can do a combined assault here. Now, I think we're going to see increment at this point. And yes, if the French were building towards here and the English were building towards here, maybe combined fire, I don't know. It's been really, really hard to get the guns safely into any kind of reasonable range. Although the start line isn't that unreasonable. It's a -2. Could have fired from back there even. Ah, well. Elsewhere, well, the French are trying. I think one of these was actually not a repair job. Are trying to maintain their repairs on here to continue a threat there. And, if that threat's going to be credible, we got to put some guns back in place. Up there. Should we instead concentrate there? It doesn't really matter. The Brits have enough guns in their illegal little entrenchment here that they can blast their way through that. So we got an alternative history scenario here. And that puts us on the second to last turn. I chose to take a little bit of a risk here. The Russians are not engaging in increment. Why? Well, I don't think the Allies can take more than this in one round. There may be a danger there. They wouldn't take anything the turn increment happens. So, come on. You're only going to take one thing. I don't think I can take two anyhow. But, unless there's a launch from here. But we're on the artillery phase. I'm going to fire off the British rounds. And then the Russians are probably going to concentrate over here, try to knock this out so that there's not a possible follow-up attack next turn. But next turn, and that's why it's important, one of these could go, and that's when I want increment for. We haven't done Allied siege gun firing at this time yet. So the British are here. I measured it out already. Several times, actually. We get a -1 because we're over the 300 yards. We're going to be firing here with the siege battery fire, and that's what I want to use because maybe the mortars and especially the Lancaster could be used to take out this bastion. And then this combined attack, which shouldn't be allowed in the game at all, would be able to take both of these bastions, or maybe both of these, or something. We'll see. There's a lot of firepower here, though, with these field guns. They're able to go out 600 yards. So, basically, if I head towards these, I'm bringing more guns into play. I could use the Lancaster and the mortars maybe to try to blow up something on this side. Maybe. I don't know. That's putting a lot of weight on the French. And there aren't a lot of French left. I bet to show it rolling. Okay, great. So I've got a -1 on the siege roll. This is an 8-factor bastion. So we'll take our first shot. A -1 gets me a 2. That's going to be 1 unit. Now there are no units actually in the bastion. Remember, I've got these guns covering the only entrances, the only assault positions that I'm at risk on. So that does nothing. 4 is a 3. No, 3 was a 2. Sorry. Well, what I just said about the 4 is about the 3 is actually applicable to the 4. All right, we got a hit there. That's a 5. We get a 1-1 star. Okay, let's take care of all factors of this. First of all, no units are injured. This gets degraded by 1. The asterisk says I lose 2 extra rounds of British ammo. I've spent 3, so that's going to be 5 rounds, putting me to there. Do a little bit more shooting here. Alright, now I'm on 7. Now that's the same chart, so I can just keep firing. And I start my count over on ammo. Okay, 5. That's again a 1-1. And that cost me 3 rounds this time. And this was happening to the Russians a lot. Now that when they were using their mortars. Alright, now I'm down here on the 6 table, and you can see now 4s are going to hit. Yeah, that says 3, but that's the -1. Alright, so there's a hit, a 1-1. We drop it down, we take an ammo off, we just keep going. So 3 more rounds of ammo for those 3 die rolls. And this goes down to a 4. And that's another chart down. And we'll continue this. I'll level it. And I'll come back to tell you what else I target this turn, because I'm probably going to be hitting more than the one thing. I know increment's coming next turn. And increment is going to take out at least 4 units. That's not too bad. But if it takes out towards the heavy end 10 or more units, wow, I'm in trouble. The Allies just aren't going to be able to mount an assault. So I have to find someplace else to target. I just rolled one. It gave me a 4 over on here, and I see a 1-2. And for some reason, I decided to actually look this time. I've done a couple other bastion levels here. because of that number. So this is actually, let's say, a 2. And then this, I misread it, or just misassumed. And it's very easy for me to make that kind of mistake, right? So this is going to do 2, 2. So now I've wiped this out. Now, I could pummel this sucker with mortar fire, and I've got a mortar that's not far away, to start killing off those units. Only can do it with mortars in the Lancaster, and only because the bastion level's 0. I think it's worth killing those things. I don't think I'm going to get into that bastion with a large force in there. So that's my next step. I have a whole lot of mortar ammo there, just whatever the British get throughout the whole game, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 1 left. Firing 5 of that wiped out that entire force. That's because even on a worst roll, let's say I roll a 1, at -1, that gets me to a 0. That kills 2 units. And on the high end of this, I could be killing 3 units per shot. So very quickly, I just decimated that Russian bastion. And that's why maybe I have a shot here. So now I have to figure out where to aim next. Unfortunately, all of my French guns were deployed here in the parallels. That means I don't have a French mortar that I can rely on to start bombing over here. They're all limbered. So I'm stuck with nothing but the English guns. I have the Lancaster, which has 6 shells left. It's a slightly better table. If I can break this thing down, I think I've got a shot, but it's going to be a tough run towards those guns. Now, one thing I can do is I can abandon the parallels here, I think. But I got to look at the rules for that, because if I lose units that aren't in the starter, that aren't in that area, I don't have a chance. I drained my Lancaster to get that down to 3. That's making it plausible to get in there still. Now the next step is I still have 14 rounds of siege ammunition. I can try to break down those walls a little bit more, and then maybe plop a mortar round into there to try to, I'm almost assured to kill that unit off. I can't do much about these guys though, and I can't do anything about these cannons there unless I assault them. I've got siege rounds to spare. I've still got 9 siege artillery rounds to go. I don't want to use them up, but I've demolished this and I lobbed a mortar round in, and well, a mortar round was guaranteed to kill the 1 unit that's in there. That's the best I think I can do. I don't have enough firepower to take down another bastion completely, and I don't see a lot of advantage to doing so. So now we're on the construction phase. Oh no, we're on the Russian counterfire phase at this point. So the Russians get to chew up my parallels to the best of their ability to prevent an attack. Now, I can always attack from behind the start line, but that just subjects me to more fire from these field batteries. The Russians got a lucky shot on their first out of their 5 siege rounds. Their next 4 all failed, though. Now I've got a bunch of mortar rounds left, and it's actually, what? It's only these 3. Crap, that's not a bunch. I'm at -3 firing from here out to there. I think I'm at -3 out to here. If it's -2, I might do it. I got some -2s here. Probably not for that one. So I can shoot certainly this one with 2 units, and it seems worth knocking out. Let's shoot at that. So I'm at -2 on the mortar table. 1, 2. I damage it and get 1. I don't know, 2 or 3. Geez, I don't know. I think I'll kill a 3. And this is damaged for what little effect that has. Now, I have 1 more shot left. The question is, do I want to take it over here, or am I more interested in just trying to kill off French units? I probably have about an equal chance either way, and getting rid of that unit. Let's see, at -2 can I do... I can't do more than 1 hit anyway. So, oh shit. So we'll try to do that. This is my last round. And then increment happens next turn, so I feel like I'm safe if I can make it through this turn. I don't get a hit. Alright. Now at this point, the Allies get to rebuild, and that means I can rebuild these two spaces, and then I'll have a unit in the jump-off space there. For the French here, it's not that big a deal. I also have to allocate which troops are going forward, and then I also have to look up to see what happens if I don't garrison over here, because I could really use more French troops, I think. Okay, we're going to do this a little bit at a time. First thing we're going to do is we looked up that rule, and I got to garrison. If I don't garrison, I lose 4 units of the nationality. So, I divide up my units. I'm going to want the guards. That's going to be 2 of my commands. I think I'm going to want the 2nd Brigade. They look like the next strongest piece. So that's going to be my assault force. I got 4 units I need to pull off then. Here are my 4 units that are going to garrison. I'll figure out where they go. Now, I've got these 2. I might as well repair this if I've got that. I'll get to the Brits in a little while. So now I'm going to finish setting up the attacking force as well as my garrison. I'll try to guess which of these parallels are closest. It's always a tough call. Brits, I'm able to use 4 brigades. Now, 4 brigades, they probably should be launching from here. They're not really allowed in here, but let's ignore that and play out the scenario as it's developed. My 4 brigades are going to be the lights, the 1st, including the guards. Now, I'm only allowed to assault with the Brits like twice in the game, but that's okay. Now I got 2 more brigades that I could bring in. The 2nd looks like it's got a lot of manpower. I get these guys for free. And there's the 4th, and that's my entire army. I'm going to commit them all, which means no ammo for me next turn, but I don't expect to have a next turn, essentially. If I can't win it here, I can't win it. That's how I see it. So pretty much everything on the Allied side, minus the garrison over here, and minus this 1 French decent unit, are committed. I'll just throw these guys into the trench works. Here's the question. Do I want to repair this? How am I going to reach this if I don't? I don't know if I'm going to. I don't think I'm going to be able to take this round. I think I'm too far away. But, okay, so we've assigned our forces. Brits, I'm doing a repair that cost me 1 unit. I have some crappy units that probably aren't going to do me any good. And we start our movement. So, the first thing we do is our Allied tactical movement, which is allowed to be 150 yards. That's enough that this guy can get in here. Now I'm a little upset because this guy might be able to reach there and won't now. We'll have to see. Other folks aren't going to be able to reach their target areas right away. So this guy looks like he can make it to just about that G. And I'll continue moving forward with both hands and no caps. So there's an example of the field movement positioning. Now I've got units in the back that I can start bringing up. And they can come up 1 line at a time. I could also be doing cross-field movement, but frankly I think going forward in the trenches is probably faster. Let's see. Yeah, let's get a couple of units moving out here. We're about to there. Because I got so many damn units trying to funnel through that 1 attack vector. And then for the French, it's pretty easy. We just place them there. Now, the Russians get their field artillery. Their field artillery has a range of no more than 600 yards. That means, let's see if we got any shots here. Not there, but we got one here. So I'm going to take a shot with this guy at that big 12. These are at the 2-to-1 level. And there's all kind of modifiers, which unfortunately are not on here. I have to find them in the tactical rolls. That's only going to be on the melee table. So, or on the, melee table. That's what we're doing. These are French units, so they lose 1 off the die roll, unless they're Zouave, because those pants are so distracting, or English. Okay. These are Zouaves, so I'm at -2 on the 2-to-1 table. That means chances are I'm gonna get either a both or an attacker only affected. So -2 gets me a 1, that's a both. That'll affect the Zouave. Now we check its morale ratings. And these modifiers, like I said, they're only here in the rule book. Doesn't look like I have any, so I'll be on the A morale table. I get a 1, that's a rout. This unit is knocked out of the battle. He actually essentially comes in as a reinforcement next turn, if that matters. I don't think there's going to be a next turn. Now over here, I want to blast this with this guy. That's a 2-to-1 table, but I don't think the modifiers count for tactical fire. I'm not sure about that. I'll come back and okay, so range does come into effect, so I have a +1 for that. And these are English units, so it's a -2, so I only have a -1 on the 2-to-1 table. I get a 4, and that is going to affect the defending unit. The attacker doesn't get hit with artillery. And now he's an A morale again. However, I'm not attacking. Yeah, I don't have any morale effects because I'm not actually assaulting right now. So let's see. I get a 6, that's a good roll. I get to stand. Lucky me. Alright. Well, I gotta clear him out of there, so I'm gonna shoot him again. I don't think I have to declare these all at once. So again, 2-to-1 at -1 net. And we get a hit. And this time he routs. So we'll put him back here so we don't use him again. That's the first round of the assault. I'll come back with the movement after the second round. I lied there. I'll come back right now because after the field battery comes the allied melee. Now this raises a point where I was mistaken. No big shock there, right? Had the allies been here, they would have been able to attack this artillery directly, and I wouldn't have had a chance to pull things in from the reserves into the bastion. So I was mistaken thinking, oh, I'm safe as long as I got something to defend the line. That's how Lil's sequence of play works. Doesn't work here. So, but I do have the Russian tactical movement next. We don't have sort of this joint melee or whatever. It is obvious that these guys aren't coming. I don't know if I can dispatch everyone. Some of them may actually be part of a unit that's engaged here. Nope. So I see which units are assaulting, and I know that the French can't launch anything over the top here, so I could actually move everything. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Granted, we can march across here, but there's no time. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to make it with any of these, so I'm not going to bother moving them. This is what I got to defend that bastion, the stuff that's near there. And it ain't a lot, but that's what you do. And this bastion, well, this is going to fall if the guns go, unless I start shipping stuff over there. I don't have an easy way to get anything out there. I've got to come through the second siege area to do it. So, now I'll do what I said and do the movement for the second impulse, because this is when I should be changing the impulse marker. I think I'll take a break first. Okay, well, we've moved forward. I think everything except the 2nd Brigade. Oh, this guy got knocked back from morale. Everybody but the he should be over here then. 2nd Brigade units have moved either into the field works or, as with the French, all onto the actual battlefield. I don't know if any of the English can make it up to that bastion, but this one is pretty much doomed. I don't think there's much that can be done about that. So, we are going to fire some siege batteries. And this is nothing too exciting to see, but we got them in range here at -1. These guys are at -1 as well. I think we'll plink at the lead 2 units there. Are they both Zouaves? No, these are Grenadiers and these are Voltigeurs. So, they're actually Zouaves who aren't elite class units, which makes it kind of more interesting. So we're only at -1 for the 2-to-1s. And this will be for the end guy. He's going to be taking a morale check. Now he's an A morale unit. And I don't think there's any modifiers. 2, he's got a 2 retreat. That flushes him back into the trench works. He doesn't have to go any further back from there. And then he's actually been retreated once. One thing I forget to do in Lille when I did my assaults is have a way of marking that. I'm going to turn him backwards. Facing doesn't really matter in this game. Well, it doesn't matter at all. So that'll be a way of indicating, hey, this guy's got a further -1 on his morale effects for the rest of the battle. And the other guy is... he unfortunately, for the Russians, only took an A result, which means he gets to keep marching. See if he can make it in time. I don't know. I don't think he can clear out the bastion, though. Now up here, let's blast some of the guys right in front of me. These guys I have +1s on. Let's do the close one. 7, that's going to be a hit. And now we're on the A morale. No effect. And actually, this is a net of -1. So a 4, that's a hit. And that's another A morale. No effect. Alright, now the Allies get to fight back. And if I'm correct here, I'm going to pause, but I think these artillery have a strength of 1 on defense. That would be in conformance with Lille, but I'm not. The strength is actually 2. And in addition to that, I got an advance here automatically, which puts me in a position to attack with 2 units against this. So here I've got a 5-to-2, that's a 2-to-1. If I get any result I succeed, I don't have to roll on a morale table there. I got a 3, both sides are affected. That is going to... now I lost. $14.25 it says. Put in the Bastion Reserve. We'll be back here. And now I can advance. And now these guys, I have 10-to-2, 5-to-1. Again, that's going to be a defender affected. I'm going to advance just with this one, because I've just won this Bastion. I don't know what happened to those guns, but we'll see. They're not going to fire again for the remainder of this round. that's the end. No, that's not the end of 2. Now the Russians get to move. I'll throw somebody up here to help defend this location, and the rest of these move forward. That's the end of 2. And I'll move the Allies forward. There's our position. You can see the horde of English moving forward, but most of them can't make it. We got a couple of artillery fire. And by the way, here's our upside down unit that's gotten a retreat result. Let's go for the close shot. That's in the 0 range, I think. Yeah. So that's going to be 2 to 1, 0. -1 for French normals, which isn't going to do anything. And the other one is going to be at a total of -2. And they're just Voltigrans, I think. And they're fine as well. Russians, well, I want my best unit where it is. I'll put another unit here that strengthens that. And then these others. I think the C morale is better than the 6 strength. We got the whole bastion covered. It looks really unlikely to be able to get it in 2 impulses. I might be able to get some attacks in. We'll see. A little bit closer. Looks like next impulse we'll be getting some attacks in, but that's not going to be enough to clear the bastion. All right, but we get some shots still. And yeah, I knew this was an overly. It looks like I'm out of that 300 range now. Nah, I still got it on that one. More importantly, I have it on this one, which is what I want to shoot. I'm 2 to 1 at -1. 2 is a B. It's a B morale unit. Rolling a 5, I actually escaped damage. And now the other one. I'm sure we're at 0. Let's shoot at this A morale unit. Yeah. It's 2 to 1 at -1. 3 allows me to hit it. A 4 says no damage. The Russians don't have anything to do, so we push forward to the final round, and I'll do some measuring. This is the final round. I didn't bother to move forward with the English. We've got not quite perfect range. We'll fire the gun at him though. It's 2 to 1 at -2. That's not going to do anything. Here we're at +1, which cancels out the French advantage. I'm assuming that's not a... We get a morale check on him. He's an A morale. And he's fine. Now we have the attacks. Well, this goes up for free. So, basically my choice is a 18 to 7. And there's no defensive works here, so there's no bonus coming in there of any kind. I don't know what the bonuses are anymore. 2 subtracted for a unit in the assault position that attacks a Russian unit with strength 4. 1 subtracted if you assault a bastion position of 2 or 3. Yeah, and -1 for a previously retreated unit. But I don't have any of those in play. So now the question is, do I do 20 against 7? That sounds like a better odds, so I'll do, I don't know. Yeah, I'll do 8 against 7 here. That's going to be a 1-to-1 attack. There's a +1 because I'm attacking a Russian unit. And I roll a 4, which is we both check. So the Russian is a C morale. And on his morale check, he gets no advantages. So 5, he's going to have a retreat that pushes him back 1, but he can't because that's adjacent to this. So he's actually eliminated. And my B morale unit is also eliminated. And now here, I believe I had a 2-to-1. No modifiers. 5 is the defender only. The morale is a D. That's not good. A 5 says I retreat 2. I am allowed to displace this unit in order to retreat back here. The gun goes here. This comes forward. Ta-da! That's where we are at the end of the impulse. Now, did it succeed? Did it not? I'll tell you one thing, the French didn't lose 4 units on that assault. They lost 1. So we're not going to get a removal of Ken Robert. But I do have to check to see. I'm pretty sure I didn't take the bastion. A bastion's captured if there are no Russian units in the bastion position and at least 3 Allied units in bastion positions. Oh, if I had to move another one into there, I could have. Any units in the reserve box are destroyed. No, deployed into an adjacent bastion reserve or in transit box. So these run back here, which means I'll still have them. I've taken the Mamelon, but my units have to fall back at this point. Now I have to maintain a garrison here. I'm not sure what that means because I'm allowed to like build out of this or something. And to end this massive turn, I throw my field artillery in here. Tottlebane brings all of his forces into play in that bastion. If that one falls, it's over. Well, not all. Brings 10 in and does a repair up to 5. I could have repaired up to 7 because, well, assuming I rolled right, I didn't check, because I have 12 repair points left. But everything else is fixed perfectly, and I don't want to strip troops from these guys because one of these could fall. There's no question there. So I put what I could up there. I don't have to be right up on the line. There's not going to be much from the Allies. If the French start constructing out of this thing, well, that's just wasting troops. And we'll move forward to that last turn. I'm sorry about how long this one is. It's quite long, and the next one's going to be very short, I think. But that's okay. We'll live with that. All right, up this one goes.